Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here. This is our seventh annual CREF RFP info session. We'll note that we have been doing this program since 2019, and in that time, we've worked closely with our partners from the DOE to help manage the Community Renewable Energy Facilities, or CREF for short, program, as well as the Single Family Solar for All program. I'll note I'm joined here in the room, although you can't see us, by Antoine Grant, who is our Single Family Program Manager, and Casa Biene, who is our overall Solar for All program engineer. And I will also note that we're joined by representatives from DOE, including Dr. Lance Lonk, Thomas Bartholomew, and several others who will be introduced in a moment. Representatives from City First Enterprises, representatives from DC Green Bank, IBEW, and some of the other partners that we have participated on the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that is now incorporated into the CREF RFP as part of this new request for proposals. So we can move on to the next slide, I think, there, Kayla. Right. Kellen, I think this one is you.
Yep, I'm back. Just noting for everybody again, if you missed it, that we are recording today's session. The recording will be provided to you along with the slides post-session. It will be sent to everybody who has registered for the event. So if you're attending today, one of your colleagues couldn't make it, they will receive it as long as they registered for the event. And this will not be hidden behind any locked links or anything like that. It will be provided directly on our website as well in our resource library. Q&A for today's session will be at the end. Please let us know in the chat. There's a little bit of chat down there if you're having any technical difficulties hearing anybody or seeing anything. But we will have a Q&A available, Q&A section available. And you can see the Q&A with that little question mark message bubble there. Please use that to log your questions, and please ask those questions as the event goes on. We will answer those questions in the order that they are received. And just noting that you'll also have the ability to voice questions at the end, and I'll be keeping stack of that when we get to the Q&A section. Lastly, additional questions will be addressed in responses posted on our website at dcsu.com/contractors/opportunities. That's a live link in there. And also, additional questions can be sent to proposals@dcsu.com. You'll see that email throughout this presentation, but I suggest you take that, write it down now, because that's where you'll be submitting your official responses or questions that we will respond to in accordance with the RFP timeline. Lastly, like I mentioned before, the webinar will be posted to our resource library. So that's dcsu.com/resource-library. It will be there. You can find that in the resource section of our navigation on our website as well, if you are confused. And with that, I'm going to pass back to James to go through the agenda.
Thank you very much, Kellen. So just again, I wanted to say welcome to everyone that's joining us here, and especially our partners from the DOEE. We've also got presentations from our partner organizations from City First Enterprises and DC Green Bank. We'll next proceed to give you a rundown on what Solar for All is, what DCSEU's role is in that. Go over some of the changes for FY25 for the Solar for All CREF program and what the timeline and the like is for the RFP. We'll go over scoring criteria, program milestones, our certified business entities, what the changes to the contracts are, insurance requirements, submitting a response requirements, as well as the timeline not only for the RFP itself, but for projects and what flexibility there may be therein. I think we can advance to the next. All right. With that being said, I will now turn it over to our esteemed partner from the DOEE, Dr. Lance Lonk. Lance, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I was. Can folks hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to our, at this point, annual CREF kickoff pre-proposal conference. It's a pleasure to be here today to really extend, on behalf of DOAE, a warm welcome to all of you that have expressed an interest in participating in this year's CREF RFP solicitation. As James mentioned on the onset, we have been working with some of you here for the better part of 5-6 years to be able to build CREFs. And for those of you that are completely new to this process and the first time expressing an interest, we look forward to receiving your proposals. The CREF program at the DCSEU has been one of the bright lights in the DCSEU operation. It's a program that has been extremely successful from our point of view over the last, 5+ years that we've been administering. We've been able to build, more than 37 megawatts of CREFs across the district and have provided benefits to more than 9,000 households. And hopefully with this year's funding and this year's proposal, we can expand the pool of CREFs even greater. So with that, I'd like to say another big thank you to our partners who have helped make this program successful, starting with Pepco, who does tremendous work with us each year to ensure that our systems are prioritized for interconnection, and to the folks at the Department of Buildings that also perform a great job of reviewing permits and helping to streamline the process so that solar projects can move through DOB relatively, smoothly. And of course, to the DCSEU and their staff for the excellent job that they've been doing in managing the Solar for All program on behalf of the district. So I will be here for the remainder of this presentation to answer any pertinent questions relating to funding or the future of Solar for All in the district, and any other questions that the DCSEU or participants may call upon. I'll be here to answer. So again, thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to a great discussion.
Thank you very much, Lance. Really want to say thank you to you and the team at DOE for your continued stewardship of the Solar for All program and helping us to, participate in managing both the CREF and single family parts of the Solar for All program has been a mutually beneficial experience. And I think, we could not carry this on without your, continued advisement and support. All that being said, I think we can move on to the next slide, Kaylin, which would be Thomas Bartholomew, Associate Director for Policy and Compliance with the DOE. Thomas, are you there?
Yep. Hi, everybody. So Thomas Bartholomew with the Department of Energy and Environment. I hope everybody is having a good day so far. We're excited that you're joining us for this information session on our Community Renewable Energy Facility RFP administered by the DC Sustainable Energy Utility. Here to answer any questions folks have about our Solar for All program, and thanks as always to DCSEU and the partnership that we have. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Thomas. I think we can move on to the next slide now. Really appreciate your support as well. City First Enterprises, this will be City first time presenting as part of the Solar for All RFP that we're doing, but they have been supporting local businesses for some time in the area and are one of the partners for the GGRF Solar for All program.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. I am Christian Perkins. I am the Clean Energy Programs Manager here at City First Enterprises. Can we actually jump to the next slide and then come back to this one? Apologies for the misordering. Appreciate that. Just for context, We are a community development financial institution based right here in the district with over 20 years of lending experience. We've been lending predominantly in the affordable housing and commercial spaces in the DMV area, but increasingly are investing in clean energy projects. And that is why we are really excited to be partnering with the Department of Energy and Environment, DCSEU, and the Green Bank to provide this revolving loan fund to eligible CREF projects. Before going any further, I'd like to introduce a number of our team members who have been working in Solar for All here at CFE. If we could just go back, there we go, perfect. Oswaldo was our president and CEO, obviously involved in all things at CFE. Jonathan Reyes is our chief lending officer, and he and his team are the ones who developers and projects sponsors on this call will be working with, doing the financial diligence and the rest. When you have a project ready to be financed, Arissa is our director of impact, also involved in all things Solar for All. And then, of course, I am Christian, again, Clean Energy Programs Manager. So in tandem with the DC Green Bank, and if we can jump 2 slides now, I think is the right number. We have created a whole host of financial assistance products that we believe are flexible and favorable enough to developers to ensure that projects we finance meet programmatic objectives of Solar for All, while also ensuring that the economics of the transaction makes sense. Through this revolving loan fund, we will offer pre-development, construction, bridge loans, and permanent debt, all offered at below market interest rates and with flexible terms that, again, balance the needs of your projects with the programmatic criteria EPA sets forth. I'd encourage all of you to go online, take a deeper dive into these financial assistance products. They are hyperlinked into this presentation, and I'll also put them in the chat here quickly if you're interested in taking a look. Please also do reach out to representatives at CFE, even if you don't have a project ready to go right now. We're interested in connecting and hearing more about your work and background, and investing in that relationship so that when you do have a project, we are ready to go. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to James. Thanks again for having us, and looking forward to launching the program with you all.
Thanks very much, Christian. And yeah, really appreciate you, the team at CFE, and DC Green Bank's support of the Solar for All program this year, and looking forward to seeing, any proposals that you're working with. And again, your contact info is all listed here on the slide. So if we can move on to the next slide, I think next up will be DC Green Bank. So I do want to introduce Ryan Moya, who is the Director of Solar Investments for DC Green Bank. And Ryan, if you're on.
I am.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
And go ahead and head to the next slide. But hi, everyone. And to piggyback off Christian, I'm Ryan Moya, the Director of Solar Investments here at DC Green Bank. And just to give an overview of what DC Green Bank does and our mission, DC Green Bank provides access to capital at low-cost capital, growing the clean economy to develop a more equitable, resilient, and sustainable District of Columbia. Our investment focus areas are clean energy projects that we'll be discussing here today, and do have a proven track record and providing some of the lending products that we'll be discussing with our revolving loan fund, green buildings and increasingly green affordable housing, clean transportation, and stormwater management. And our impact since inception 2018 has been sizable, with 74 million of total DC Green Bank investment that's unlocked a broader 763 million in public and private investment. Can you head to the next slide here? Yeah, so just to be brief and to piggyback what CFE and Christian were alluding to, our role in the Solar for All revolving loan fund is partnering with CFE and to offer affordable financing to eligible building owners, which include community organizations, affordable housing, multifamily owners, and commercial building owners. Projects must meet EPA T's and C's and criteria set forth for the program, which include reducing energy bills that impact LIDAC communities and LMI district residents by an average of 50% in bill savings. Our pre-development loan and some of the loan products that we'll be offering include a pre-development loan offering financial assistance and cost for the planning and design stages of qualified projects, incentive bridge structures to offering a bridge loan to tax credit monetization, rebates, and or grants that become available upon project completion. And we'll be working closely with DCSEU and the projects that flow through on this RFP. Our construction loan financing through the construction period at the interest rates that were alluded to in Christian's slide for solar and paired battery storage installation, as well as enabling upgrades that include ITC eligible electrical upgrades and necessary roof repairs to install solar. And then construction to perm financing or permanent loans offering long-term financing for eligible solar projects and paired battery storage. And with that, I'll keep it short, but we're excited to work with DOE, DCSEU, CFE, and all the coalition members to expand solar for all in the district.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And yeah, definitely want to say thank you to you and the team at GC Green Bank for your offerings supporting the Solar for All program this year. Next, I'll turn it over to Antoine to give a little bit of a rundown on the Solar for All program as a whole, as well as the single family and CREF goals and overall results over the past 6 years of the program.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antoine Grant. I'm the single family Solar for All program manager. Here at the DCSEU or DC Sustainable Energy Utility, we work with DOE and local solar contractors to design and install solar PV systems across the district. These systems have the potential to save income qualified district residents at least $500 each year with no cost to them. Next slide, please. So in the history of the Solar for All program, since 2019, we've installed hundreds of projects across the district. Starting in 2019, we installed 86 homes, totaling 430 kilowatts in single family homes, with 84 CREF projects, totaling 7.2 megawatts of solar. 2020, we did 120 homes, totaling about 650 kilowatts on single family homes, and 50 CREF projects totaling 6.4 megawatts. In 2021, we upped it a little bit to 122 homes installed on single family homes totaling 690 kilowatts, with 32 CREF projects totaling 6.6 megawatts. In 2022, we did 106 homes on single family projects with 650 kilowatts and 41 CREF projects totaling 9.2 megawatts, I believe our largest year on a CREF side. In 2023, this was our largest point in single family where we did 176 homes, installing almost 1.6 megawatts of single family homes with 28 CREF projects totaling 4.8 megawatts. And then just last year, due to budget cuts, of course, so we did 60 homes, totaling 507 kilowatts on single family homes and 19 CREF projects with 3 megawatts of solar. So we brought 11,000 income qualified households in the district, savings of at least $500 a year on their bill. So with that history, I'll bring it back to James, where he'll continue to talk about the CREF program for you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Antoine. And yeah, just to summarize, I mean, that's 670 single family installations and 254 CREFs, bringing 37.2 megawatts online for income qualified residents. We'll note the overall scale of Solar for All since, 2019 and as of the end of last year, we were responsible for about 60% of all the megawatts produced in the district at that 32.7 megawatt CREF capacity, which is technically 54% of installed CREF capacity in DC. And you can kind of see the breakdown here again in terms of the overall CREFs that have been registered with the PSC. So we will note later on, as we're going through the milestones, there are a number of post-milestone activities, one of which is registering your site with the PSC. All right, next slide. So Solar for All goals, again, supporting the rapid deployment of solar across DC, bringing the benefits of solar to income qualified households, catalyzing sustained solar market growth to meet the RPS and SFA targets, creating green jobs in DC, and achieving 50% of CBE spend for SFA contractors. And I'll note that we also have a workforce development program that typically will pair local residents with interested CBEs. You can, next slide here. And again, if you have any questions, you can submit those to proposals at DCSEU.com. All right, so in terms of the scoring, we'll note the changes in red for the older participants who've been with us for a year or more. Everything that's in black, it's exactly as it had been before. So in terms of what we provide points for. This is on a, up to 112 points reviewed. The bids will be due June 11th, and just make sure that you have your proposals in ahead of time. First thing that we're scoring on is capacity and cost. So you can get a total of 40 points based on the sites identified. So if you're listing out the CREFs with the status, and if you already have documentation of site control, please identify that in your proposal. You can get up to 10 points there. The total capacity proposed and capacity for each CREF with a minimum of 30 kWdc. So we are measuring this in kW DC. We're targeting specifically if you have projects in the range of 50 to 500 kW, but we will still accept proposals outside of that range. You can get up to 15 points, and there will be details on the forthcoming slides as well as in the RFP check section 9. The incentive requested, we're requesting, this has to be in price per watt. So there will be a scale on the next slide basically showing that we've generated a variable range that you can price your overall portfolio, and you'll be scored as many as 15 points if it falls under a certain range, and if it's outside of the otherwise acceptable ranges, you wouldn't get any points for the proposal, but it will need extra written justification for that category. Next up, we've got project readiness. So that's based on project performance. You need to be able to show that each CREF will produce at least 1,200 kilowatt hours per kilowatt per year. That is an efficiency standard that is required for the Solar for All program, and there are up to 10 points awarded for that category. Your project financials. So this is separate from the financials that will need to be sent to the Director of Finance for DCSEU, but within the proposal, there should be a pro forma budget either by project or for the entire portfolio that you're submitting. You can get up to 5 points in that category. Your proposed completion schedule. We understand that these are aggressive timelines, but if you can provide estimated dates based on where you are currently and when key milestones will be achieved, and we will go over what those milestones are on the subsequent slides. CREFs that are in a more advanced state of development will be scored more favorably, and you can get up to 10 points for that category. We cannot accept projects that have already been ATO'd. That is a hard rule. Next, we will be grading your qualifications and overall team experience. So based on your operating capacity deployed, you can get up to 5 points. Based on the team's prior experience and past performance, you can get up to 15 points. We request 3 references at least and performance on similar programs. And next up is qualifications and experience. So we want to see what your team is, made of, what their roles are, your experience working with partners, any letters of commitment that you've received or the like. You can get up to 10 points in that category. Next is innovation. So any aspects that enhance the CREF's benefit to the community, you can get up to 5 points for that category. And last but not least is the certified business and enterprise category. So if you're DC registered at CBE, you can get up to 12 points in that category based on what is on the DSLBD's website for your company. And the total points available again is 112 points. And Kaylin, we can move on to the next slide. All right, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that we are for the first time doing this variable scoring. So on the 15-point maximum that you can get for your portfolio bids, there are, as we have on the single family side and we're attempting to do last year on the CREF side, the 2 categories. So your IRA ITC tax adders, if you are bidding on those and you want to retain 100% of those tax credit adders, you would be selecting option 2. If you are bidding on any IRA ITC tax adders and would prefer to turn over, 50% of the returns on that to VIC, you would select option 1. And so the points are weighted based on which option you're picking. If you're bidding $1 per watt or less and you're in option 1, you would be eligible for all 15 points. If you're doing 75 cents per watt or less, you're on the option 2 side, you're eligible for 15 points. Next up would be $1 to $1.25 per watt under option 1 for 12 points, or $76 cents to $1 per watt on option 2 would give you 12 points. And so on and so forth, where you can see on the slide what the points would be up to. Kaylin, looks like we lost the slide there. All right. Up to $1.75 per watt on the option 1 side, or $1.50 per watt on the option 2 side, where you would get 6 points, or as many as 6 points. If for some reason, you're able to, those incentives don't work and you're able to justify it, as noted in red, all proposals over those amounts, whether under option 1 or option 2, need to provide an explicit justification for their higher dollar per watt incentive, and they will not receive any points for the pricing category of the RFP. We can review that. You just wouldn't get any points for this category, and it could affect whether or not an award is generated based on how all the rankings come out. But all that being said, I think we can proceed to the next slide. So we'll note FY25 RFP, we're planning on awarding approximately $12 million in incentives for FY25 CREF projects. So, as required, all projects finalized by September 30th, FY25, which would include the need for TPF, DOB final inspection, and PEPCO ATO. We can talk about timelines, when we get to that slide, but I will note that there are milestone payments where, unlike on the single family side, where there's only one milestone payment, that's the final milestone, and it's for 100%. We've got milestones 2, 3, and 4 here, where those milestones in the past, because we understand that CREF projects take a little bit longer to develop, can be extended, but within reason, and we would review that on a case-by-case basis. So we're also noting 100% of the actual measured electrical output for at least 15 years must be designated to the DOE for the benefit of income qualified households. So that means that if whatever is being generated on site, needs to be going back to the grid, back to DOE, so that it can go, 100% of that energy can go to income qualified households. And again, as I noted previously, you need to ensure a minimum performance guarantee of 90% of the expected annual weather adjusted output from solar installations, yielding at least 1,200 kilowatt hours per kilowatt in the first year. And CASA will go over that later. Our engineers do calculation to evaluate that based on what that weather adjusted output is. But that is a requirement. Underperforming projects are subject to an annual financial penalty as outlined in the subcontract. You can review the FY23 contract that we have on our site as one of the attachments. We will be updating that for FY25, but the penalty calculation we expect to remain the same. You'd be repaying all incentive payments within 30 calendar days if the projects do not complete all milestones by September 30th, deadline established by the DCSEU, or fail to take the steps necessary to energize each CREF within 14 calendar days after receipt of authorization to operate. Obviously, as I said, this is a very aggressive timeline, and if the need arises, we can talk about extending, but that is based on our old requirements in the RFP. Subcontractors must operate and maintain the systems, track and report the actual electrical output for at least 15 years. So it's not just you build it and it's done, there is a maintenance requirement for this that extends for the life of the projects, which would be 15 years from the date of energization. Next slide. All right, as I noted before, CREF projects have 4 milestones, 3 of which are tied to incentive payments. That's milestones 2 through 4. Each milestone has specific documentation and project goal requirements that will be discussed on the next slide. And those milestones help us to ensure development progress, as well as help our various contractors that are awarded get paid along the way. Because if you're at milestone 2 and it's sometime while you're waiting for TPF and the like, you need to be able to keep that project going. So I think that it is a mutually beneficial structure that we have. Next slide. All right, so milestone 1, and you'll note in green at the bottom, it shows the incentive payments for each milestone. Milestone 1, that is, we need documentation of site control, that you have a fully executed site control agreement, and also what we call the CREF supplement would need to be recorded. Stamped engineering documents, installation permits that would be solar and electrical permits we would need to see documentation on, your financing plan, and the project schedule and installation plan. So right now, as on our schedule, that would be required by August 6th. There is no incentive payment associated with this milestone, but again, this is one that helps us keep track of projects, make sure that you're keeping up to speed with the documentation requirements and the like. On milestone 2, this is the first payment milestone at 50% of the total award. We need to see evidence of purchase of solar equipment, including the modules, the inverters, and the racking. Evidence of equipment condition, so manufacturer warranties for the modules, inverters, and optimizers, and you can reference the subcontract to see what the length of those warranties is. Then we also need to see PEPCO's ATI. So if you've already reached all of these milestones at the time of your proposal, you can note that in the proposal, but we would want to make sure that you then provide us with each and every one of these documents in order to get that first payment milestone. The submittal deadline for that is August 20th. And again, you know, if the need arises, we can discuss, if required, some flexibility there, but that is the current milestone deadline. Milestone 3, as I noted before, is going to be your temporary pending final inspection report from PEPCO. And the incentive payment on that would be 30%. So bringing you to 80% if you've gone through all 3 milestones, with the submittal deadline currently at September 10th of FY25. Milestone 4, we've set this currently to when FY25 ends for us, because, you know, DC is on the same schedule as the federal timeline. That is September 30th of 25. That would be the final 20% payment. And so what we need to see then is your DCSEU QA/QC inspection that CASA will give a few details on later on. The as-built and revised permits, evidence of final inspections, your operation and maintenance manual, PEPCO ATO, that's the big one of the it can also be termed PTO, but that's authority to operate or permit to operate. The inverter RGM login credentials. You know, we do want to get the API keys for these so that we can get regular updates on what's going on with those systems, and the recorded site control documents. So once you've met all those milestones, you can get paid 100% for these projects based on the size and your bid amounts, but there are additional post-construction obligations, including registration with the PSC, that's DC's Public Service Commission. And again, for the life of these projects, which is 15 years, you would be expected to maintain them, monitor them, and if for any reason the systems are not operational, we would need to, or underperforming, get them back online, and we'll be reaching out accordingly, where you should let us know as soon as you're aware that there's an issue. Next slide, please. Okay, so I spoke earlier on the CBEs, that's DC Certified Business Enterprises. DC contracts in excess of 250,000 require a 35% SBE, that's DC Small Business Enterprise Subcontracting Utilization Plan and monitoring throughout the life of the contract. So accordingly, our goal is even higher at 50% of the incentives awarded under the RFP being retained by CBEs. So that's part of why we award up to 12 preference points to prime bidders who are CBEs and commit to retaining the incentives or a portion of the incentives, which may also trickle down to their subcontractors. So preference points per category as listed on DSLBD's website for SBEs are 3 points, and the same for and/or women-owned businesses. Resident-owned businesses would be at 5 points. Long-time resident businesses at 5 points, local business enterprises at 2 points, local business enterprises with its principal offices located in what's considered a DZE or enterprise zone at 2 points, disadvantaged business enterprises at 2 points, veteran-owned businesses at 2 points, and local DC manufacturing business enterprises at 2 points. You'll note that these points total much more than 12 points, but you're only able to get a maximum of 12 points, and that would be listed on DSLBD's website once you've registered with them. If you are in the process of applying for a CB at the time of your bid, we cannot give you any preference points for that, but we will note that if you happen to be awarded, and you're still waiting on that CBE status, we can work with you to try to reach out to any contacts we may have at the DSLBD to see what's going on there. And, I think that it is a mutually beneficial program. Next slide, please. All right, so additional RFP specifics for contracts and the new change noted in red. So we did upload an FY23 contract template for review and information purposes. Of course, there are some changes this year, but we will make sure to provide those updates in June ahead of time for contract awards, signatures, and certificates of insurance to be provided. So it's important for bidders to understand that many of the subcontract terms and conditions are non-negotiable, such as those insurance requirements, which we'll be going over soon. Bidders are strongly encouraged to review that FY23 contract template and note any exceptions that they anticipate requesting the form provided in the RFP. And failure to do so may prolong or prevent a successful contracting process. Again, if you have any questions on this, please submit them through the webinar in the chat section or email proposals@dcsu.com. Next slide, please. All right. I mentioned before that one of the milestone requirements is the CREF supplement and recordation. So for milestone 1, you will be required to basically sign that or show that the owner has signed the CREF supplement, and we will need to see a fully executed copy. But if you're unaware of what the CREF supplement is, you can look at the subcontract template attachment B1. The next requirement for that CREF supplement will be in milestone 4. It needs to be recorded. And I mean, there's nothing preventing you from recording it sooner, but we do need to see that along with the site control agreement. It modifies with the DC Recorder of Deeds as part of milestone 4 to ensure full payment. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right, thank you. All right, so next up would be systems monitoring. So to ensure that our CREFs are producing the required output and households are getting that committed generation, we use a tracking system to confirm that our PV installations are meeting the minimum performance expectations. So that tracking system consolidates information from different projects over the program years, and subcontractors are required to provide us with independent access to production data. And again, as I noted previously, we want to see the API keys for that. So, that should include the site ID, URL, IP address, credentials, login, location data, username, password for any other systems that you have tied into the inverter. And that being said, any additional documentation that we need in order to monitor those programs on projects on a regular basis, the electrical output, both manually and via automation at regular intervals. Hence the need for the API keys. Next slide, please. All right, so the Solar for All program, as I noted several times, that 15-year period, we would need 100% of the generation from those CREFs to go to the DOE, which allows the developer to focus on their core expertise of installing solar. DOE and their third-party subscriber organizations would manage the output from those projects. Developers can work with the property owners, us at the DCSEU, and DOE on program enrollment and outreach to tenants at host sites as needed. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a little bit more on that ITC IRA adder provision. So the Inflation Reduction Act, had these ITC adders, these tax credit adders that were new in, I want to say, FY23 and FY24. If you plan on applying for those tax credit adders, you should note that in your proposal, along with an agreement to either bid a lower amount in exchange for less points, or in the alternative, this would be option one, entering into this commitment for 50% of the proceeds to be turned over to VEIC, whether at the time of receipt or the time of filing of your tax returns, whichever is sooner. If a bidder is awarded a subcontract, they will need to disclose that they intend to apply for those tax adders. And even then, there's no requirement that you actually apply for those tax adders, but if you intend to, we would want to know. If a project or projects authorized for SFA receives an IRA adder, again, the bidder or subcontractor would be required to enter into a commitment with VEIC to transfer 50% of those proceeds for those projects to VEIC for the development of SFA. The commitment with VEIC would provide that within 60 days of receipt of payment from the federal government from an IRA adder or filing of those tax returns, the bidder or subcontractor will write a check payable to VEIC for 50% of the monetary value of those IRA adders to be used exclusively by VEIC for the SFA program. Subcontractor will be required to sign a commitment letter with VEIC with respect to any IRA tax adders for all of the subcontractors' CREF projects. Apologies, that needs to be updated for both projects which you intend to apply for an IRA adder and projects which you don't currently intend to apply but may do so in the future. That's if you're picking option one. If that, is something that you would prefer to avoid, I would suggest actively marking on your proposal that you are selecting option two, and the lower amounts in terms of scoring that entails, please be aware of. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a bit on the insurance requirements. So we're highlighting that there are no exceptions to these insurance requirements, and you can review those in Exhibit B of the RFP. Final requirements will be confirmed prior to the issuance of the subcontract, but some required coverages can be expensive. If you're new to the program, just be aware. Respondents are expected to understand the prices of corresponding insurance and include those costs as you're selecting your price per watt. There will be a summary on the next slide for informational purposes, but really look at Exhibit B of the RFP for full requirements. Actually, the summary is right below. So commercial general liability insurance, that limits need to be $1 million per occurrence, $2 million aggregate. They can be higher if preferred, but that needs to be the minimum. Automobile liability insurance, $1 million per occurrence, combined single limit for bodily injury and property damage. Workers' comp, we need that to comply with the statutory mandates. Please review that. Employer's liability insurance, $500K per accident for injury, $500 per employee for disease, and $500K again for policy disease limit. Crime insurance, that's third-party indemnity, $1 million per occurrence. Cyber liability, $2 million per occurrence or claim, and $2 million aggregate. Professional liability insurance may be known as E&O. There is an admission $1 million per occurrence for each wrongful act and $2 million annual aggregate. Sexual, physical abuse, and molestation, that's $1 million per occurrence and $2 million aggregate. And finally, the umbrella or excess liability insurance needs to be $3 million per occurrence. And it does need to be in the name of the subcontractor that is ultimately awarded. So I know some may go under various DBAs and the like, but whoever we're actually contracting needs to be the party on there, and it needs to be with respect to DEIC and the district. But please review those requirements in Exhibit B. Next slide, please. All right. Post-construction and obligations and monitoring. I'm going to turn it over to Casa, our project engineer, who can give a few more details on this.
Hello, everyone. My name is Casa Bayena. I'm one of the program engineers with the Solar for All team. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the obligations and the DCSEU QA/QC inspection. So the requirements are monitoring and conducting O&M for 15 years. The API key will be needed and the site ID as well. The Solar for All team's email will have to be added to the monitoring system, and it's here, solar@dcsu.com. Registering with the Public Service Commission, ensuring the project is online and providing expected output, and fixing issues as they arise to ensure continuous operation. Then a check will need to be written to BEIC for 50% of any ITC added proceeds within 60 days of receiving a payment from the federal government for an IRA adder or filing of tax returns claiming them, of selecting option 1. And a little bit about the DCSEU QA/QC inspection. I or the other program engineer will reach out to schedule the inspection to acquire data to complete a substantial completion form and determine baseline output for future penalty calculations. Since we'll need access to the roof, either a ladder or access into the building to get to a roof hatch will be required.
Thanks very much, Casa. And I think we can move to the next slide. Getting close to the end here, folks. All right, so submitting bids on the web portal. If you're new to this process or just need a reminder, we welcome all qualified bidders to respond to this RFP. All responses need to be submitted through our contractor website portal. That's portal.dcsu.com, HTTPS. And by the deadline specified above, that would be June 11th at 5 p.m. Bidders may request a copy of our solicitation guide for the contractor web portal by emailing proposals@dcsu.com. So new and returning bidders need to request an account by June 4th at 5 p.m. by completing that username account request form that's available at dcsu.com/about/RFQ-profile-request-form. And again, if you've been through this process recently, I would double check to make sure that your login credentials are still working, because you don't want to come, June 11th and you're trying to log in for the first time and realizing you don't have an active account. DCSU will process the requests within 2 business days or sooner when possible. Returning bidders, again, may use their existing account, but if you forgot your username, please contact webportalhelp@dcsu.com. And responses that are not in the required format, incomplete, or not submitted by the response deadline may be disqualified. So please double check those requirements. Next slide, please. All right, so this is our timeline. Written RFP questions, you can submit them today, but they would ultimately be due a week from today at 5 p.m., May 21st, 2025. The responses from DCSU in conjunction with our partners would be posted on June 4th. And we are also required to have an account on our web portal registered by June 4th at 5 p.m. Proposals and financials are due June 11th of this year. And again, please don't wait until the last minute to get it in. That's due at 5 p.m. You can submit it sooner. There's no, prohibition on that, but that is the ultimate deadline. The financials should be emailed, I believe, to tchristopher@dcseu.com, but we will post that update as well. Next slide, please. So yes, pardon me. The proposals need to be submitted through the web portal, but your financials, your overall company financials, as outlined in the RFP, do need to be emailed to the Director of Finance for the DCSEU to be reviewed separately. Once all the proposals are reviewed, award notices are sent out, the subcontracts should be issued on July 9th of this year. With your certificates of insurance, you'd have 2 weeks to turn those around, making sure that you're meeting all the requirements. And that same day, we would expect the subcontracts to be signed July 23rd of 25. I think that is our last major slide. Again, please, if you have any questions, please submit them in the chat or email proposals@dcseu.com. And if you're not getting updates via eBlast or just want to review what updates you're getting, please visit dcseu.com/contractor updates and sign up to receive updates about upcoming trainings and opportunities with contractors, including our workforce development program. Slide here. And, we'll be doing our Q&A shortly, but just want to note that we very much appreciate your attendance or your review of this presentation. And please submit those questions to proposals@dcseu.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And this is the program team here. I'm James Clark, the portfolio manager for Solar for All, joined by Antoine Grant, our solar program manager for single family, Casa Biene, solar program manager, solar program engineer. Madison Johnson, who is our solar program associate program manager here for single family. And we've also got support from Tom Costendis, Chris Carrick, and Ben Staub, and Ron Hobson is another solar program engineer who could not be with us today. But I think all that being said, one thing that I forgot to note is that the Solar for All program for the district was announced in 2017 by Mario Bowser, and the stated goal of the program is to bring the benefits of solar to 100,000 income qualified residents by 2032. And DOE administers that program. We're managing it as well, and joined by our partners who I know you all may have some questions for. So that being said, Kaylin, I think we're at the end here. Any questions that have come up?